As you probably already know by now, I've never been any good at precision. But the intro to that, uh, the chain, is Travis picking, and he does it. I think he actually uses two or three fingers on treble parts, but you're going to be bouncing. Oh, I suppose I should start off with um, you got to drop your E string and your E string to D. Easiest way to do that um, is to just put your finger on the seventh fret of your E string and make sure that it's in tune with your A string. And then once you've done that, make sure that the two E's sound as unison as possible. Especially on something that's kind of got a low down Western feel as this does. Perfect tuning actually isn't what you necessarily need. If it's a little bit out, it's got that um, hot dry day in the south kind of feel to it. And then you get a capo onto the second fret. So all the other strings remain the same. Two outside strings get tuned down a whole step to D, and for whatever reason, then they put a capo on. The math probably makes sense somehow, but then we're into the Travis picking, and your thumb is going to be doing your E and your A, but it goes along with the pattern, so it's not like you have to get that independent thumb that we were talking about the other day. So it goes thumb, G string, thumb on the A, pardon me, on the D. So thumb, G string, thumb on the D string, and then back to the E string. So So uh, if you want to do it Travis picking, you can. I kind of flubbed through it, but so we're gonna go E, G, D, B, E, G, D, B with a hammer on with the ring finger to the third fret. And the chord formation you're holding here is like a D7, but you're not using that E string. The E string and the third fret actually end up being tuned essentially the same. So you could look at it as a part of a D7 with your pointy finger on the first fret of your B and your middle finger on the second fret of the D, of the G. So you could either look at it as part of a D7 or no, it's not a C chord. So yeah, just part of a D7. I kind of do I like using the pick because of the rest of the song. It has some diddles to it that I'm not good at holding the pick sideways, do my little Travis picking, and then work into having a pick. So you can kind of find your way into the same. And they seem to alternate between whoops, come on, brain. One with a hammer on, and then no hammer on. And you can either just put your finger down there for it, or you can hit that open E string, whichever way. But it instead of having the hammer on, it's just the note. Particular amounts of times that they go through this on the intro really depends on when and where they're playing. It changes constantly. what I end up doing is I run through that 3 times, and then I go into a little rundown, which is at the very least very similar to what he does, which is going to be 3rd fret of your D string, 2nd fret of your D string, right? Open of your D string, 3rd fret of your A string, open of your A string, 3rd of your E string. You can put a little bit of a bend into it. So, and then get to part of the D. Instead of being a full D, you're again omitting your middle finger, and you're not going to that E string. That's actually a D. So we'd be in the D7 version, and then that's just putting your middle finger down on the 3rd fret of your A string. Once within the 3 of these that I run, or 4, depending on how I'm feeling, I'll throw in that bent 3rd fret again of the E string. So, and then I run it again, because I think he does as well. And that's where it goes into the listen to the wind blow. And so that would be listen to the wind blow. And I am out of tune, but that'll be all right. So from your D, and that's at your 5th fret, middle finger, and it's important, middle finger on your 5th fret of your E string, fat, and ring finger on the 5th fret of your E string, skinny. Because you're gonna, that's essentially a G there, and then you're gonna move it to a G7. Technically it's capoed, so that would be A to A7, but it doesn't matter. And that needs to ring out a little bit. Until I saw it played, I never really heard it in the song, but now that I've seen it played, I can't unhear it. So, leave your middle finger on there, slide it up to the 12th fret, and drop your ring finger onto the 12th fret of the B string. And then put your pointy finger on the 11th fret of the G string. So you have 12 on the E string. You're essentially muting the A string. D can ring out. It works in there, open. And then you're going to have 11th fret of the G, 12th fret of the B. And the E, the skinny E, again, is kind of muted with your hand or the back side of your ring finger. So you get... kind of this open, airy chord, and that particular form, you're going to slide it down a whole step. And if you notice, your pointy and your middle finger are in the perfect position. I mean, your pointy and your ring are in the perfect position to come back down to that D that we were playing. So, whoops. And I tend to do that once at the end of the verse, and then don't use my middle finger as I move into the next start of the verse. So, you know, I'd come down and then whatever that is, something in the shadows. And on the first verse, they only have 2 lines in it, so 2 runs of the D to the 12th fret, to the 10th fret, then back to the D. And instead of going into the next verse without the middle finger in there when it's coming to the chorus, I do the, and you can either quiet it or just get ready to go for third finger, pointy finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, ring finger on the 5th fret of the A, and pinky finger on the 5th fret of the E. And most of it's going to be this power chord, but it covers you to add in some more, and it's very staccato during that. You know, if you don't love me now, you'll never love me again. And then you go into a D, and then you go into that 2nd chord that we had up here at the 10th fret. You're not going up to the 12th. So again, you're going to be middle finger on the 10th fret of the A string. You're going to be pointy finger on the 9th fret of the, and once we come up here, I'm referring to the frets themselves rather than the distance from there, so I apologize for that. So 10th fret on the A string, we're going to be 9th fret on the G string, 10th fret on the B string. So you'd go from that staccato right. I can still hear you saying or something, and then you're gonna come up here, never make the change, and then you're coming down to not a whole lot different. Instead of being with that pointy finger in there, you're just removing that. So you're just sliding that same form down to the 3rd fret. And you can put your pinky in on that for attitude, whatever you want to call it. If you feel like it belongs in there, you can make a little pattern in there, because there's so many instruments playing in that song. It often sounds like ruckus. So, whoops. Then it repeats it. And then it goes through it again. The 2nd verse, they have 3 of, where am I? They have 3 of these. Whoops. That's the sound it makes when you forget to move your ring finger from the E to the B. Last time. Then it goes through a whole pile of these. Right, and it ends up if you use your middle and your ring finger on the second fret of the G string and the third fret of the B string. So I think, geez, why does that sound so funny? Yeah, okay, so I was right. I was like, it doesn't sound quite right. So that's going to be second fret of the G, third fret of the B, and then open on the E. Those are supposed to be unison. I'm a little out of tune, so be it. But you're going to so all you're doing is sliding your middle finger up to that third fret, creating that tension there. I suppose you can get that D string in there too. And here you're going to put your pointy finger on the E string and pull off. I think for the first one, the second one, you're going to put your pointy finger on there, and then you're going to play that, you're going to play the B, and then you're going to play the G. Yep, play the G string at the third fret. So, whoops, I've disappeared. And that's just in a row. So. And then, of course, the song goes dead quiet, and it sounds way better if you get your fingers into it. You get that softer, bassier tone. I did one recording of it that way. And that leaves you this finger to try to get that E sound going. But in reality, you end up wanting to beat the hell out of the guitar for the end of the song, so that's going to be just like a major scale. 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret. So it's start on the 5th, then go 5, 7, 8. Pull it back off. Go down to the 3. Go to the 5. Go to the 7. Open. 5, 7, 9, 9. 5, 7, 8, 7, 5, 3, 5, 7, open. And that happens to work for me. I don't lift my fingers off the guitar well. That little slide allows me to not have to do any lifting. I suppose it would make more sense to but I also don't have that sort of stretch, so and you start hearing that, you know, E coming in kind of thing, and maybe a little bit of ruckus of low bass otherwise too. And when they're in here, don't forget, like I said, that 3rd fret of the B string is the same note. So somewhere in the middle, pick it up is what you're doing. I just switched. That's the switch. Up to the 12, up to the 17 and bend. And you can kind of grab all the rest of those strings in what we're doing. You can do a double stop on the 2 fat strings, or you can play just the lower string. Let me think. And then you're going to go to that D shape we're using in the verse. 2nd fret of the G string, 3rd fret of the D string. I mean of the B string. Just trying to, even if that stuff's playing in the background, you got to get a little bit out of that bass run, obviously, for the song. So other than that, it is fun to play with. Find where whatever sort of, sad western town you want to add to that. And I do let that go a little bit. I think he gets much more staccato, but there's drums and there's other noise going on behind him. It depends on what feel you like. I tend to put a bit more into it, I guess, or different into it, certainly not more. That's certainly got the raising tension there when you throw the pinky in. Let's see. So if we were here, and that's just that pinky on the 3rd fret of the E string. That I think adds to it. Those are actually neat little simple progressions that add a lot of character to something. I just can't stand them because all I can think of is what's her name moaning and groaning in the song. But if nothing else, they're cool little progressions to dice out of this and use somewhere else, and see how they drop the tuning. They only sometimes they go open with this, but the 2nd fret seems to be what they're doing or they were doing in concert anyhow. That really just has to do with singing, more so than anything. Which I'm not going to do here. Just some cool little pieces. If you have questions about it or if I skipped something, let me know.